Okay, in today's video, we're going to be talking about Aurora Cannabis stock and what basically the future is looking like for Aurora Cannabis shareholders. So, the last time I posted a video, I was telling you guys that I was basically buying shares at any price under $2. But, recently to kind of the recent kind of problems with the Robinhood app, you guys didn't know last week the Robinhood app was down for 2 days during some intense stock market volatility and things like that. And based on what Aurora Cannabis is doing right now, this stock could approach under $1 if we continue to see the stock markets go down and down and down. So let's just quickly look at the chart right here. We were at an all-time high of about $9 last year at around this point, and so far the stock is basically down about about a little to 80 to 90%. So if you guys bought up here, your positions, you've lost a lot of value on your positions. The market cap of the stock is currently approaching $1 billion. But this is, to me, is a long-term thing. You could have hedged your positions by simply buying put options. So put option is simply the right but the obligation to sell a stock. So if you had bought put options on Aurora Cannabis, you could have made money as the stock was going down as well. But for me, I'm more of a long-term investor. I want to acquire as many shares as possible in Aurora Cannabis because we could be headed for a reverse stock split. So one of the things I want to talk about is I want to talk about the latest quarterly numbers for Q2. Those were simply posted after I posted my last video. So I want to give you guys kind of a fundamental analysis as well. The technical points, this is definitely the rundown. So if you have the 4 stages of most stocks, you've got accumulation, the run up, the run up, distribution, and the rundown. So currently we're facing the rundown phase of Aurora Cannabis, but let's just get some of those numbers so we can get like a more general picture of what's going on. So net revenue was $66.6 million in the second quarter, and the cash cost to produce per gram was 88 cents, and they finally launched those Cannabis 2 products that I was telling you guys about in my previous video. So let's just see what the CEO said. Remember now, the old CEO of Aurora Cannabis, he stepped down. So the interim CEO is Michael Singer. Despite delivering modest growth to our core medical and consumer business in Q2, we took immediate and deliberate actions to align our company to current market conditions. As announced last week, being a profitable cannabis company for investors is a singular near-term focus for Aurora, and we have begun to implement a business transformation plan intended to manage the business with a high degree of fiscal discipline. So revenue was slightly down over the last quarter, but if you take a look at some of the things some of the nice things that I've been talking about with Aurora Cannabis, what we're looking for, guys, we're looking for a couple key numbers. First thing you're not going to see right now is profitability. New companies like this in a brand new industry where regulation is very tight, especially in the United States, it's much more opportunity in Canada, but the biggest thing for Aurora is obviously global expansion, preferably into America, Europe, and other countries like that. So if we take a look at the production volume we see in fiscal Q2, it was over 30,000 grams, which is excellent value. And as we can see, the cash cost to produce per gram was still under $1, so around 88 cents per gram. And their medical patient base is around 90,000, and they finally been distributing the new Cannabis 2.0 products, the vapes and things like that. So what's been going on with Aurora? Well, they've had a lot of shakeup in the company. Their old CEO stepped down. They've been making some changes to their board of directors. It looks like basically the long-term pressure on the stock price has really caused a lot of problems with this company. And if you're just looking at it in terms of stock price, then if you're looking for this thing to go up really quickly in the short term, there's some much better plays out there. I would probably look more towards solar energy stocks and things like this. But with the whole coronavirus issue going around, people are just scared to hold stocks anyway, and there's been enormous volatility in the stock market. I've never seen it like this in my 15 plus years of investing. I'm 33 years old, and it just seems like we're going up 1,000 points, going down 1,000 points every day. So for you guys out there that are long-term investors like me, you're looking to grow up with this company. So kind of just see it as that this is just This is just like a problem for a lot of companies. It's not unusual to see a company stock decline a lot after its IPO and things like that. It's not unusual to see a lot of downward pressure because everyone's looking at profits. If the company's not making profits, then they're more likely to be dumping the stock. But this is still the most highly owned stock on Robinhood, and there could be a reverse stock split coming because the stock price has gone down so much and is approaching around $1. But for me, I'm buying any price below $2. So I want to see what's going on with this whole coronavirus thing because I've basically just been adding to my long-term dividend portfolio. I haven't been buying as many non-dividend paying stocks right now because I'm not getting income for the dividend check and prices are going lower. It's not really, we're not really sure exactly how low we're going to go, but if we're using the previous stock market crash of 2008, for some of you guys out there, maybe you weren't investing back then, the Dow Jones went from 13,000 all the way down to 7,000. So we almost lost half the Dow Jones value in about 18 months. So there could be a lot more worse times in the short term. So that's just something to keep in mind. But let's just take a look more at some of the metrics here. So as you can see here, based on the previous quarter, revenue has been slightly down. But like I said, the thing with me, Aurora Cannabis, is we need legislation. And once I am long-term bullish on cannabis in the United States. I think in the future it'll be legalized in all 50 states because it just makes sense that the government starts to make profits off of it. We kind of saw the same thing if you guys think about way back in the past with prohibition, how alcohol used to be illegal to sell alcohol in the United States, and then there were a lot of kind of gangsters and things like that. People like Al Capone and things like that were making a lot of money selling alcohol illegally, and then finally the government legalized it and started taxing it. So this is probably the exact same thing that we're going to see with cannabis. It is a plant grown on earth, so it would make sense for the government to tax it. So once you see the legislation get passed for these companies, you're going to see a dramatic increase in their stock prices because people are going to consume their products, not just recreationally, but for medicinal reasons as well. That CBD oil has a lot of powerful elements. Like I said, myself, I am not a smoker, but I am all about the oil. That CBD oil is just as powerful as coconut oil. We use coconut oil for lots of different things. It's antibacterial, and the same thing for that CBD oil. There's a lot of health properties in it. So that's one of the reasons I'm owning this company. I'm not really owning it because I believe in smoking weed or something like that. I believe in that CBD oil and the medicinal properties. So as we can see here, take a look at some of the complete revenue numbers. You guys can check this out by going to their website, just auroramj.com. You should take a look at some more numbers. So one of the things that I like to look at is kind of their overall annual kilogram goals. So as you can see, with continued refinement of cultivation techniques, we're expected to achieve quarterly harvest volumes leading to average 150,000 kilograms or better. That is phenomenal, guys. Out of all of the cannabis stocks out there, Canopy Growth, you've got Tilray. Those are some of the more popular ones. And then, of course, they've got some other smaller ones trading on the OTC. Aurora Cannabis has probably the best production in the entire industry. It's really hard to outduel them. And I think people are just looking short term to price. A stock split could be a great thing for this company. It'll surely, kind of reduce the amount of shares outstanding because right now at the current stock price, basically there are about 1 billion shares outstanding. And that's just a lot of shares. So it means every time you own one share, you just own less of the company. So a reverse stock split could be a really positive for this company. If you guys are looking at a company like Tesla, one of the reasons why Tesla stock is so expensive is because they don't have as many shares outstanding, whereas a stock that has a ton of shares outstanding is Ford. So Ford has billions and billions of shares. That's one of the reasons why the stock price is kind of going down so much. So you don't want to own a company that has too many shares outstanding. The best run companies are always doing stock buybacks, reducing the amount of shares outstanding, and once the company becomes mature, they're paying a dividend. So let's read some of the outlook. It says The company is bullish on the long-term potential for the global cannabis opportunity. However, due to short-term factors, there will likely be a slower than previously expected rate of industry growth in the near term. The company has outlined a number of fiscally responsible steps it's already taken to realize business expected industry growth rate. Aurora reiterates its outlook for fiscal third quarter cannabis revenue impacted previous industry headwinds that showed modest growth. So, guys, with the whole coronavirus, we're kind of seeing global economic activity kind of at a halt. When things happen like this, people just they're not likely to be in crowds, they're not likely to buy as many things. So for you guys out there that are long term with me, I think that by 2030, by 2025, 2030, if you are just focused on your long term goal, so don't let coronavirus, don't let these short term price rips mess up your goal. Set a goal to acquire a certain amount of shares. If you're looking to retire early, or you're looking just to build passive income, or you're just looking to build wealth, you just want to own a stake in a great company, I would stick with Aurora. I know the stock price has been tanking. I get it, but you got to understand that in the short term, Wall Street is like a voting machine. So people are just selling off the stock because it's like an infant. The cannabis industry is like an infant. It's like a couple years old. But in the long term, it's a weighing machine. What's going to happen when marijuana and cannabis use is legalized and it's widespread? Obviously, revenues are going to change dramatically. More and more people are going to be using the product. For medicinal purposes, hospitals, doctors, people are going to be recommending the use of the oil and things like that. You're going to see a transition in all different types of mechanisms to consume, vaporizers and things like that. There's just so much potential for this industry. And the fact that the stock is like trading at an all-time low where no one wants to own it, for long-term value investors, this could be a time to back up the truck. So right now we're looking at the current market cap of the company is $1 billion. So the question I ask you guys is, what do you think? Do you think that probably the best positioned cannabis company, one of the best positioned cannabis companies in the world, at least top 2 or 3? Another stock I really like, guys, I really like Tilray as well. But let's say Aurora Cannabis is a $1 billion stock. Do you really think that by 2025, that Aurora Cannabis, once the marijuana is legalized, once they have the global distribution improves, probably by then they'll be pushing half a million, maybe 1 million kilos per year? Do you think the company is going to be worth $1.3 billion? Absolutely not. I mean, $1.3 billion for this entire company is an absolute steal, considering just the global impact it can have. And also, one of the things that I really like about Aurora Cannabis is that the management is realistic. As I kind of read in there, they understand that they have problems. The best companies realize that there's issues, and then they do things to change it. Changing management is a phenomenal thing to do. Seeing your stock decrease 80 to 90%, there's obviously something wrong. So it's great to see the management switch up. That's what we want as a shakeup. But Aurora has some of the best products. If you guys go on YouTube and things like that, and you Google Aurora Cannabis products and stuff like that, you can see that consumers like the product. It's great. It's neatly packaged. The company is evolving, coming out with new products and things like that. So for me, this is just still a strong buy for me. A reverse stock split could maybe, let's say they do like a 10-to-1 stock split, so we could see the price to, obviously it has to be over $1 to be listed on the New York Stock Exchange. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so strongly behind this company, because it is listed on the New York Stock Exchange. It's just not like some fly-by-night company that's listed on the OTC. You got a lot of cannabis stocks that are listed on the OTC, but in a couple years from now, they'll absolutely be out of business because you're going to see a lot of consolidation in the industry. So guys, that's my take on Aurora Cannabis. This is just a wait and see thing. We're going to see most stocks come down as we continue to see the impact of the coronavirus. But like I say, guys, stay long term on this company. A lot of you guys out there under 25 years old, you can grow up with this company. This company can be something that can be like your little baby. Perhaps in the future, we're looking at much higher stock prices, much more value, and much more kilograms produced. And once the United States demystifies and deregulates cannabis use, we could see it used as popular as alcohol. Now, I'm not advising that you guys consume alcohol or consume cannabis through smoking, but we could see dissimilar transgressions, going through tough prohibition in alcohol, legalization, widespread use. So now cannabis is in that same phase. Very, very tough regulation, but slowly the governments are pulling back and realizing that they can tax it, make a lot of money, and people that use it for medicinal purposes can benefit as well. So guys, that's my take on it. Let me know what you think about Aurora Cannabis. What are you doing? Have you given up on the company? Are you dumping shares? Are you adding to your position? Let me know what you think in the comments, guys. Okay, until next time, take care.